Mantour Ministries presents the Mantour Guy Podcast. We may talk about football. We could mention bacon. We might reference Rocky movies. We'll probably discuss the Mantour conferences, but we'll definitely talk about how to grow in our walk with God. Here's your host, the Mantour Guy, Jamie Holden.
Hey guys, this is Jamie Holden. I'm the Mantour Guy. Welcome to our very first podcast episode. I'm really excited about this new adventure we're going to be taking together through the Mantour Guy podcast. I really feel it's going to be a great way to reach men, to connect with men, and help men grow in their walk with God. And that's what we're all about here. We want to see God's men become everything that God created them to be. The husbands, the godly fathers, the leaders in their church, the men mentoring the next generation, who are reaching out to the lost, who are serving in their community. That's a man of God, and that's the goal of the Mantour Guy podcast, to help men reach that place in their lives. I'm Jamie Holden, like I said. My nickname is the Mantour Guy. How'd that come about? Well, whenever I tell people who I am when I meet them, they always tell them my name. They're never really heard of me before. But then when I say, I run the Mantour conferences, they're like, oh, yeah, you're the Mantour Guy. So that name kind of stuck, and that's what we went with for the podcast, the Mantour Guy podcast. I run Mantour Ministries, and what we do is we hold conferences all across the East Coast, and our goal is, to help men come to these conferences to learn more about God, of course, but also to encourage them to go back home and have active, thriving men's ministries in their churches. And like I said, I'm really excited about this podcast and using it as a tool to reach God's men and help them become everything God created them to be. Because I believe that our enemy out there is really attacking men in our culture, especially God's men. He has his bullseye square in the back of God's men, trying to keep them defeated and discouraged. And one of the ways I feel the enemy's attacking God's men is by making them feel alone, feeling isolated, like they're the only ones who are trying to live for God in the culture we live. The culture says the way that men of God live is not normal, it's weird, it's odd, and that we shouldn't have to live according to God's word and God's rules. And I feel the enemy is trying to make us feel alone and isolated, like nobody else that's out there is living for God. And I want to show you that there are men out there who are on fire for God, who are loving Him and serving Him and obeying His commandments in the Word, who are following God's will and God's way. It's kind of like, in the Bible, one of my top 10 favorite men in the Bible is Elijah. And there's a story where Elijah, in the Bible, he's feeling just discouraged. And he says to God, God, I am the only man of God left in the nation of Israel. And God comes in and says, no, Elijah, I still have 1,000 men who are following me and serving me. And he helped Elijah find these men. And I want you to see, you are not alone. You are not alone in your walk with God. You are not alone in your desire to become everything God created you to be. There are men all across this country, all across this world who are on fire for God, who love God, who are serving God. And I want to bring these men to you and let you see you are not alone and give you that hope and that courage to keep moving forward, to keep growing in your walk with God, and to become everything God created you to be. We're also going to have some fun in this podcast. I'm kind of a goofy guy. People who know me call me kind of like a jokester and a prankster, and I always like to laugh and have a good time. I'm a huge fan of the NFL. I love football, a lifetime Broncos fan, which living in Pennsylvania doing the Mantour conferences, I'm always getting grief that I'm not an Eagles fan or Steelers fan. But, I'm a lifer for the Broncos. I bleed orange. And, I'm a huge fan through and through. We're going to talk, every week a little bit of football maybe, talk about weekly picks. We're going to talk about things guys enjoy like construction project and DIY. We're going to quote great men of our time, guys like Rocky and John Wayne, the great theologians of our day. We're going to really just talk about them and some of the things they said and how we can apply it to our lives. I'm a huge fan of Rocky. Anybody who knows me knows I can pretty much quote all the Rocky movies. We're just going to have a great time together. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, but we're also going to focus on what it means to grow in our walk with God. A little bit more about me. I am, like I said, the Son of God missionary, and my passion is to develop men's ministry into local churches. Did you know only 1 out of every 10 churches in America has a healthy, thriving men's ministry? And the reason I get up every day, my passion, my goal of living is to see that number become 100%. I want to see all churches have healthy, thriving, active men's ministries who are mentoring and discipling each other and who are also reaching out to the younger men. Did you know 70% of youth, once they age out of youth group at age 18, they leave the church and they never come back? And that number just breaks my heart, and I think it's upon us guys to change that number by mentoring and discipling these younger guys. So we're going to interview some guys coming up who can help us learn how to do that. So I believe God has great things in store for this podcast. I hope you'll continue to join us. I know you're going to be blessed and touched. You're going to laugh. You're going to learn. We're going to have a great time together here on the Mantour Guy podcast.
Yep. You're listening to the Mantour Guy podcast.
Just to give you a taste of what's coming up, here is our...
The Mantour Lead Pipe. Write it in ink NFL pick.
All right, so over the next few weeks, we at Mantour Ministries, we have a Mantour Ministries weekly pick'em contest going where you can win 2 tickets to the Mantour of your choice and also a copy of our newest book under construction. And what we're going to do is every week we're going to pick one game that's going to be our lead pipe, write it in ink weekly pick. This week we're going to be looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns. I'm telling you right now, you can write it in ink. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to beat the Browns this week. That is our lead pipe lock. It's going to happen. You can write it down in ink. Also this week, we're going to be looking at some other great games here. We have Seattle in week 1 versus the Green Bay Packers. On that game, I'm going to be picking the Seattle Seahawks. With that amazing defense, I think they keep Aaron Rodgers in check. It's going to be a close game, a high-scoring game, but I think at the end, Seattle pulls it out. Let's look at the Sunday night game, the New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. Full disclosure, I am not Cowboy Nation. I am not a Cowboy fan. I'm what's kind of affectionately known as a Cowboy hater. So in this game, I got to stick with my heart and go with the Giants. The Giants were almost my Super Bowl pick for this year, so I think they can pull this one out. I didn't go with them for my Super Bowl pick, but I think they go ahead and pull it. I'm tempted to go with the Chiefs and the Patriots game because that game already took place when I recorded this, and I already know who's winner, so I won't do that to you guys. Let's pick another game here just to keep it honest. Let's go with the Atlanta Falcons versus the Chicago Bears. In that game, I'm predicting that Atlanta bounces back from that devastating loss in the Super Bowl to win their first game of the season. And I'm going to go be bold as to predict they win it by double digits. So we picked there that in our lead pipe lock, the Pittsburgh Steelers will win over Cleveland. We picked Atlanta over Chicago. We picked Seattle over Green Bay. And, of course, the New York Giants over them boys. They're going to win on Sunday night. And for a bonus pick this week, we're going to go with tonight's game, the Chargers versus my Broncos, the last game of the week. I wish this game started before 10 p.m. It's really late for me, but, I'm going to stay up late, going to put on my jersey and get my, iced tea out and some potato chips. We're going to sit there and we're going to cheer for the Broncos. In that game, I'm picking, of course, come on, guys, who do you think? I'm picking blue and orange to win game number 1. The new LA Chargers, they're going to lose their first game of the season from being a team from LA. We're going with the Broncos in a late night red-eye game, and go Bronco Nation. So as we wrap up today, I just want to bring you one of the quotes from one of the great minds of our time.
Here's a quote from one of the great minds of our time.
All right, guys, this quote comes from the one, the legend, Rocky Balboa, as he's speaking to his new guy, Creed, who he's teaching and showing the ways of fighting. And he says to him, "Every champion was once a contender who refused to give up." I love that quote, guys. Do not give up. No matter what you're facing in life, no matter what you're going through, no matter if you're feeling isolated or alone, you have the heart of a champion, and you become a champion because you are a contender who is going to refuse to give up. Do not give up. Keep going. Keep moving forward, and you will become a champion, just like Rocky Balboa taught to Apollo Creed. So as we wrap things up this week, I just want to say thank you for joining us. And, I hope you continue to join us for this podcast. I really believe God has great things in store. And we're going to have some great guests coming up. We're going to have Brian Pruitt coming up next time, who's going to be sharing about his work with Power of Dad Ministries and how he's reaching the next generation. But I just want to thank you for giving us of your time today. If you enjoyed this podcast, head over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and leave a positive review. And, that helps us be able to reach more men as more men will become aware of the podcast. If you want to learn more about me and about the Mantour conferences and about our events and our books and our resources, head over to mantourministries.com. You can find all that information there. But until next week, keep growing, keep moving forward, and don't ever give up. Like Rocky said, I will see you next week. Have a great week, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Mantour Guy Podcast. Be sure to visit mantourministries.com to learn more about our books, men's ministry resources, and our Mantour conferences.